There's a particular kind of person you might have known once, someone who was present, even warm, maybe even someone you considered close, and then quietly, without a dramatic exit or a final argument, they were just gone. Messages left unread, plans that never materialized, a gradual fading, like a voice getting softer until you can no longer make out the words. And the strange thing is, you probably blamed yourself, wondered what you did, replayed conversations looking for the moment things shifted. But the truth is, it likely had nothing to do with you. Not really, because some people don't disappear from certain people. They disappear from everyone. If this channel has ever helped you understand yourself a little better, consider subscribing. The disappearance rarely happens all at once. That's the part people miss. It's not a dramatic exit. It's more like a slow dimming. They stop initiating. They respond a little later. Their answers get shorter. And somewhere in that process, they've already made a quiet internal decision that the world is better off without their presence for a while, maybe indefinitely. People who do this aren't necessarily depressed in the way we classically picture it. They're not always crying or unable to function. Many of them are working, existing, going through the motions, but emotionally they've retreated to somewhere nobody can reach them, and the most unsettling part, they often feel an unexpected sense of relief when they do. Psychologists who study avoidant attachment have long observed that certain individuals develop, usually in childhood, a coping mechanism that equates emotional distance with safety. When closeness consistently led to disappointment, to being misunderstood, to emotional overwhelm, the nervous system learned something. It learned that connection is costly, that presence is a vulnerability, and so, over time, withdrawal becomes the body's most fluent language. But it goes beyond attachment theory. There's something else happening, something harder to name. There's a particular exhaustion that doesn't come from physical tiredness. It comes from performing, from always calibrating how much of yourself is appropriate to share. From reading rooms, managing other people's emotional states, showing up consistently for relationships while quietly feeling like a stranger in them. The people who disappear. Many of them have been doing this performance for years, and at some point the stage just gets too heavy to stand on. Dr. Elaine Aron's research on highly sensitive people found that a significant portion of the population processes both external stimulation and interpersonal dynamics far more deeply than average. Environments and interactions that feel ordinary to most people can register as genuinely overwhelming to others, and often those same people are extraordinarily skilled at masking it. They've learned to seem fine. They've learned to be present when they're not, until they can't anymore. The disappearance in that context isn't weakness. It's the body enforcing a boundary the mind was too tired to verbalize. There's also something worth saying about the relationship these people have with their own needs. Many of them, if you ask them directly, in a rare moment of honesty will tell you they struggle to know what they even want from other people. Not because they don't feel anything, but because admitting that they want something means risking the asking, and the asking, for someone who learned early that their needs were inconvenient, is genuinely terrifying. So they don't ask, they accommodate, they adapt, they give what they think others need, and slowly they begin to resent the connections they themselves are maintaining. That resentment gets uncomfortable. It feels unfair toward the other person who didn't necessarily do anything wrong, and so the cleanest solution, emotionally, is to simply exit. No confrontation, no explanation, no risk of being seen wanting something and being denied, just silence. Silence, for these people, is not empty. That's the misunderstanding. It's full of thoughts they couldn't find a way to translate into language, full of care they no longer know how to express without feeling exposed, full of the particular grief that comes from wanting connection while simultaneously dreading it. There's a term in psychology, alexithymia, which describes the difficulty some individuals have in identifying and describing their own emotional states. It's more common than most people realize, and it exists on a wide spectrum. People with significant alexithymic traits often don't withdraw because they don't feel, they withdraw because what they feel is so difficult to articulate that staying in relationship requires a kind of emotional translation work that eventually becomes unsustainable. So they go quiet, and they stay quiet. Not forever in most cases, but long enough for the world to stop expecting anything from them, long enough to finally exhale. If you're still here, it means something like this has touched something real for you, either in yourself or someone you've cared about. If this kind of content speaks to you, hitting the like button takes 2 seconds and genuinely helps this reach people who might need to hear it. What makes this psychology painful for everyone involved is the ambiguity. The person who disappears usually doesn't leave a clear reason, and humans, wired as we are for narrative and meaning, don't do well with ambiguity. We fill the gap with stories, mostly unflattering ones about ourselves. the people left behind feel rejected, confused, sometimes angry, which then becomes guilt. It's a strange emotional loop, and it can last for years. But here's the thing that tends to get lost in all of that. The person who disappeared is usually not thinking about you in the way you're imagining. They're not sitting somewhere crafting an elaborate distance to punish you. They're just trying to survive themselves, trying to manage an internal world that became too loud. You were not the cause. You were, in many cases, simply present when the exhaustion finally won. That's a hard thing to hold, because it means the disappearance wasn't about you, which sounds like it should be comforting but somehow makes it lonelier. There's a particular type of person who disappears repeatedly throughout their life, not because they're incapable of connection. They're often capable of remarkable depth when they feel genuinely safe, but because the gap between who they are internally and who they feel they have to be in social and relational spaces becomes, over time, impossible to sustain. They reappear sometimes weeks or months later, quietly, as if no time has passed, and there's something both frustrating and strangely tender about that, because the reappearance is also real. It's them saying, in the only language they know right now, I still exist, I still care, I just couldn't be here for a while. Whether you let them back in, that's a different question, one with no clean answer.